Well, St. Louis Cardinals have officially fallen below 500 for the first time since early May. Nolan Arenado is on the injured list, and I'm wondering if Andrew's wondering, and I'm wondering if you're wondering, are we ever going to see Nolan Arenado in a Cardinals uniform on the field again? Are the Cardinals cooked? What's with Nolan Arenado's future? What do we have to look forward to in the second half on this post-deadline episode of Dealing the Cards? Hey, welcome back into Dealing the Cards. Josh and Andrew. We're missing Sandy today, but excited for another episode, even though the play on the field has been anything but exciting and the state of the team is anything but exciting, unless you're hopeful for major changes in the future. But it kind of feels like we're talking about a rebuilding club right now, even though the Cardinals themselves do not like to use that word. I think at this point it's pretty clear that's what they're doing. And I texted Andrew and Sandy yesterday, right after, and if you follow us on Twitter, follow me on Twitter, you might have seen me put out this tweet right after it happened. But you get the news that Nolan Arenado goes on the IL, and my instant reaction is, I think he's done. I don't think he's putting on the Cardinals uniform once again. Now, I think Andrew's reaction is the reaction of other people, and I'm not saying I don't know if I'm right. I'm just speculating here. I'm putting tea leaves together. I'm trying to look at the tea leaves here, and I'm interested to hear what people think. There's been a response back to me from some people of like, I don't see it. What are you talking about? It's just an IL incident. But I think there's a lot of context to go around it. So, Andrew, I want to set up the context real quick, and then let's talk through that and what this means, because he could be back in 3 weeks. Like, I'm not at all trying to say that can't happen, but let me just kind of, if you're someone who's like, what how is that true? Let me give some of that. Also, wearing the Cardinal Hall of Fame weekend hat here, and maybe it's a tip of the cap to future Hall of Famer Nolan Arenado, and might be the end here. But okay, so you have this whole Nolan Arenado situation, which dates back to the offseason. Gets the trade to Houston, he rejects it because he thinks they're going into, or he doesn't at least think they're trying to contend super hard. He doesn't want to end up in another situation like he was in St. Louis. A little bit foolish, but whatever, we understand. None of the other suitors that he wanted to go to want him. Houston's out. They get to the spring training. Boston's the last team, but then they sign Alex Bregman, so they're out too. Cardinals are stuck with Nolan Arenado. Arenado reports to camp. He wants to be here, but clearly he was open to going somewhere else. Starts the season, it was kind of average for a while. He had some bad stretches. He had some good, I want to say good stretches offensively, but he had some okay stretches offensively. Then he starts to get nicked up, banged up. He's playing through it. He refuses to go on the injured list. If you look at his numbers from July on, he's like a 40 WRC plus guy, which means he's like 60% below a league average hitter. After the All-Star break, he was like a 20 WRC plus guy. So he's like 80% below average. That's way worse than Jordan Walker at his worst points this year. He just can't play offensively. It's so bad at this point. Clearly, the injuries are playing a role in it, but also we've seen this deterioration for the last few years now. Deadline week comes. The Cardinals tried to trade Nolan Arenado. They're open to it. They reapproach him. Clearly, he's open to it, but it sounds like he didn't want to expand his list of teams again. What does that limit it to then? The Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Mets, the Phillies, the Yankees, and the Astros. Here come the Astros. Isaac Paredes is on the IL for the rest of the year. They're open to adding a third baseman. They're interested in Arenado. They're interested in Eugenio Suarez. And then this Carlos Correa stuff comes up. And to me, it felt a little complicated. And so I was like, maybe the Nolan Arenado stuff ends up happening. Maybe this is finally his destination. Nolan gives a public comment to media about how he has some stuff to think about regarding his future, and we'll see what happens in the next few days. And also, he seemed a little bit surprised and annoyed that Ryan Helsley was traded, which is kind of weird to me because I think everyone and their mother knew that was happening, but apparently Nolan didn't. The process goes through. The Houston pulls off this incredible trade for Carlos Correa, where the Twins eat a bunch of the money. The Twins go in this crazy fire sale mode that no one really saw coming. And musical chairs ends again. The Cardinals are stuck with Nolan Arenado. Mozeliak, 30 to 40 minutes after the deadline passes, is talking to media and ask him, I think Derek Gould asked him, what are your plans for Nolan? Is there a chance that you ask him to play less? Is there a chance it's a little bit of like a third baseman by committee? He said, we haven't had that conversation yet. We haven't approached it yet. We'll figure out what happens. It's tough to get at bats for Nolan Gorman, blah, 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 blah. The very next day, Nolan Arenado hits the IL. And there's no timetable given about his return. Just a 10-day IL for shoulder, some kind of shoulder issue he's been dealing with. You kind of keep waiting. And then Ollie Marmol comments on it, and he's asked directly, do you think Nolan's going to play it all again this year? And he says it twice in a row. It's too early to tell. And he stops and says again, it's too early to tell. reading all this here, I don't think Nolan's going to play again. I think it's over. And again, I know I'm speculating here, but I think there's enough people out there in the know that kind of aren't necessarily saying that's not what's happening either. It kind of feels like both sides, the Cardinals are, hey, we need to see Nolan Gorman at third base. We might want to see JJ Weatherholt here soon. When Lars Nootbaar is activated this week, there's not a spot for him. So you already have a roster crunch without Nolan Arenado. So when he's healthy, it makes it even harder. Get him off the field. At this point, he's been so bad that I think all value is shot at this point. And so I don't know if him coming back, there's a chance, sure, he comes back and he looks better and it makes it better. But at least right now they could sell, hey, he's been hurt. And so if you trade for him, he'll be better. And you can't prove otherwise because he didn't get on the field and prove he wasn't better. Now, maybe he comes back and they do that. And then I think on his side, I don't know if he wants to keep playing right now. I don't know if this is what he wants to do. I'm not trying to say that's for sure what's happening. So please don't put words in my mouth that Josh is saying Nolan's quitting on the team. And I'm not even saying that's what's happening. He might just be like, hey, you guys are moving in a different direction. You guys want to play the young guys. I want to go compete for a World Series somewhere else. This isn't working. I'm going to sit the rest of the year out. And not saying that he's making a decision. This might be a group decision here. Sounds like Ollie and actually, here's the other thing too that I think is really weird about this. Nolan and Ollie had a conversation about Nolan going on the IL before the trade deadline. So earlier in the week, the Cardinals knew they were doing this. They didn't tell anyone. They tried to trade him. And then when John Mozeliak asked after the deadline, do you know what you do with Nolan? They said they hadn't talked about it yet. But Ollie confirmed they had talked about it already. So just there's something not adding up here. It's kind of weird to me. I think we've seen the last of Nolan Arenado in a Cardinals uniform. I think we make it to the offseason, and the DeWitt family is going to have to make Chaim Bloom do this. It's not Mookie Betts because Mookie Betts was an MVP caliber player at that point. But I think they're going to try and move the contract, and they're going to eat money on it. Like, yeah, no one's going to take the whole contract. They're going to eat half of it probably to get someone to say yes. And another team will say, okay, we'll bring on this really good defender. Hope the bat bounces back. We're barely paying anything for it. The Cardinals are going to move the contract. Andrew, am I crazy?
Speaking of Mookie Betts, he's having just as bad a year. So maybe you get that to happen. No, I don't think that would happen. That would be really funny.
Arenado.
Yeah. No, if Mookie Betts is broken, and you traded him for Nolan Arenado, like the Cardinals would be cooked because I think his contract's a lot longer. But anyway, I don't know how much I buy into this. Like it seems to me like just a regular IL stint where, like, you know, he's been feeling terrible for a while. It's pretty clear he's playing through something.
For sure.
And I don't know how the clubhouse is like. I know from the outside, it's like, yeah, the Cardinals are clear sellers as soon as they like lost the series to the Rockies. But who knows? Maybe in the clubhouse, after that Rocky series, it was like we're still playing for something up until the deadline. We don't know if they're going to sell or not. I guess I would assume that most of the people in the clubhouse aren't like on Twitter because that would be really bad for, you know, just their mental health. And I think if the players are smart, they wouldn't really look at rumors or stuff like that. Helsley seemed pretty convinced that he was gone, which is correct.
Which also, that's not all rumors. Like John Mozeliak has talked about this. They go down, they have individual conversations with guys. So I know, like, and it was reported that Ryan Helsley had conversations with the Blue Jays. Like talks had progressed that much that Blue Jays management was talking to Helsley about what it would look like for him to be the closer. So even when they comment on stuff, sometimes it's legit. Like they've talked to Mo, they've talked to Ollie, they've talked to whoever, and they know that their name is being thrown around.
Right. I mean, like, I don't know if Arenado, like, because we haven't had any information about any of this, where it's like maybe after the trade deadline you see that your bullpen is gutted, which is the strongest part of your team at this point. He's just like, okay, I think it's best that I go on the IL because he's not feeling good and he wants to, you know, get better for later in the season, or like have a healthier end of the season, or have a healthy next season or something like that. That could all just be what happens, right? Like, because Brendan Donovan was playing through some elbow stuff in 2023, and then once the deadline happens, or just a little bit before that, he goes on the IL because it's pretty clear that the Cardinals aren't going to be competing for anything. And I think both Goldschmidt and Arenado went on the IL at similar points in last season, not immediately after the deadline because they were still kind of in it, but like pretty close to like September, and when guys like Tommy Pham were being put on waivers. I think that could just be it. I don't know. Like, I think it's maybe a little bit. And I'm not saying you're doing this, but like some people are speculating a little bit irresponsibly out there, where it's like, oh, what does this mean for the team and things like that. Where like I don't know if it's even the smartest thing for him trade value wise for him to not play. But if he really is not feeling good, and there's guys like Nolan Gorman who are coming back from the IL feeling great, ready to play, and they need playing time, I think that makes a lot of sense to put him on the IL. And also, he just wasn't playing well anyway. So maybe if Gorman had been healthy, he would have gone on the IL a lot earlier. It's just that who would have played third base, like Sajasi maybe, but it hasn't looked very good with him either.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I think that's kind of all it is. I don't know like how much the discussions between them and Houston progressed. You and Sandy seem to be a lot more convinced that he would be traded. I think you guys said like 40-45%. I was more like 15-20% that he would get moved at the deadline. I was like, I could see it happening. I would like it to happen, but I like a lot of things have to go right. The Dodgers don't seem interested. The Yankees got a bunch of guys who, are probably not as good as Arenado, but they added to their roster with like Ryan McMahon and Ahmed Rosario or like guys like that. So it was kind of just Houston, and I didn't think Houston was going to do it, just like because they get somebody else before they got Correa, like an infielder.
Yeah, they got Ramon Urias, but then they still, I mean, clearly that was like a depth move, but then they pulled off the bigger, because I mean, if they're looking at Suarez, that was gonna be tough. Well, he ended up not getting traded for all that much, which was kind of surprised by. Correa was like that deal came together in the last few hours. They thought in the morning it was dead, and then Arenado, obviously, I don't think was their preference. I just thought like when they were like, hey, we're an upgrade at third base. Here's the three options. One of the options, it doesn't seem like is going to get traded to them. And the second one is Correa. That seems so complicated to figure out. That's where I was like, oh, I went from like 5% to 40, and it's still less than half. I was still more like he's going to stay than not. I was like, if Houston wants a third baseman, this is the guy. And they've already had the conversations before, so it makes sense to have it. Here's a couple here. I'm giving these as this is reporting from Derek Gould, and I think it's really good. So he did report the Cardinals explored trade talks with a few teams at the deadline about Arenado, but the 10-time Gold Glover has a no trade clause, complete saying where he goes and 2 more years remaining in the contract. They've told people like the Angels and Royals no before because they knew Arenado didn't want to go to those teams, and clearly they talked to Houston, but it didn't go anywhere. Like it ended up being Carlos Correa, and I think that makes so much sense for them. I don't blame them for doing that. But then here's how he started that story on the day, and you can find this on the St. Louis Post-Dispatch under the headline of what Nolan Arenado's uncertain return from IL means for him, Cardinals, and Nolan Gorman. He talked about how on Thursday night, right after the deadline, they asked John Mozeliak directly about playing time at third base, if it might shift in the wake of the trade deadline, and because they didn't move any players at the deadline. And he said, we're going to try and find at bats for Nolan Gorman the best we can. And they'd had discussions about it, but then they wouldn't disclose any information about Nolan Arenado. And they did ask him about if Arenado's playing time would be shifted. He was like, we don't know yet. Then he says that, yes, Arenado was placed in the IL on Friday. The decision in the IL and to rest was made after a conversation between Arenado and manager Oliver Marmol in St. Louis earlier that week. The manager had told them. And so I don't think, maybe I undersold this. I don't necessarily think this is Nolan. Like, I'm not like saying, oh, Nolan's driving this. I think he's a part of the process and a part of, because he has to say yes. Like if he says I'm not hurt, like they can't put him on the IL. But I think this is more management driven of like, hey, we're going to try and trade you this week to a place you want to go. If it doesn't work out and you're going to be here, we need to see what Nolan Gorman is the second half. We might need to see what JJ Weatherholt is the second half. And we think the best thing for both of us is you go rest up. Maybe you come back later, but probably not. And we try to move you in the offseason. And if they don't move him, I want to rule out a DFA at this point. Like, why not? If they don't think he's an asset to them long term, and if they think 2026 and 2027 is about building the young core, it's possible. It's fully in the cards. But what I think will happen is they'll find a suitor that will take on at least some of the money, so they don't have to pay it all. They'll trade him away. The DeWitt family, Bernie Miklasz, looked into this past week. Over the last decade, or 15 years, they've eaten over $50 million in dead money on people before. So this is not crazy for them to do something like this. Yes, this would be the most they've ever done for one player specifically. But I think if they can find a trade partner where they'll take on 25% of the contract or 30%, then that helps a ton. And they move it. Next year, Nolan's due $27 million, but the Cardinals actually only have to pay him $22 million of that, and then $15 million. So they're on the hook for $39 million in 2026 and 2027. If they eat $15 million of that, what is that? You get them down to like, what is that? $24 million then? 2 years, 24. Like, I think a team could take them on for that. And then they save 24 million, which means a lot to them. Or even if they get a little bit more, even if they only save 15 million, that's $15 million they saved, and they'll care about that. So I actually think I'm like, if I'm selling this as like a potential point, I think the Cardinals are really driving this at this point. And I think Nolan's just kind of along for the ride of, hopefully I end up in LA or Houston or wherever this offseason. And if I don't, then I come back and I'm not a regular anymore. Maybe I am. Maybe they DFA me. Like they've done, like Jay put it out there, like with Fowler and Leak before, and they've done it with other guys as well. I know it's Nolan Arenado, so it's a different level of player, but it's gotten to that point. I mean, he's 20% below average at the plate now. Like he's not.
Like, yeah, but that's by like playing her, and I don't know how bad it has been. I feel like the defense at least is still an asset. Like he's probably more valuable than like Victor Scott is probably to you.
And he's not. You know, like B WAR or F WAR wise, he's below 1 F WAR now in the season. Like I think we like last year, I remember looking at it and being like, oh, Nolan's worth more than I thought he'd be because of the defense, and his bat was at least league average. Like he's good defensively, but he's not like incredible anymore. And the bat is like legitimately bad. Like it's not good anymore. And so it diminishes the value of a guy. He's worth 0.8 WAR on the season. I think Victor Scott's like 1 point something. And there's a difference there. Like Victor Scott's making $800,000 and Nolan Arenado's making 30. Oh, Victor Scott's worth 2 WAR on the season. So again, we'll see what happens, but I just think it's a storyline to follow. And I mean, if the Cardinals went that direction, do you have any problems with it going that direction if they did?
I just think that, like, I just don't know what would happen if, because I want this team to spend money, and I think they're like a lot closer to being a good team than, a lot of people give them credit for. And I feel like they're a couple of pieces away from that. And I worry that like them eating that much money on his salary would deter them from doing that in some way.
But
I don't know how the fans would react to it, because like I like just don't know how many people follow this drama and are like, oh yeah, Nolan Arenado has all this stuff going on behind the scenes. Like I'm sure some people are still excited to come see him play, even though he's not been good. I don't know. Like I think it gets muddy, and like I don't trust ownership with this. Like yes, they did it with Dexter Fowler, but Nolan Arenado is probably better than Dexter Fowler was when they cut ties with him, right? Like
it's really not that different anymore. That's how crazy it is at this point, how bad he's been.
Like Dexter Fowler was below replacement level.
His last year might have been.
Was he not?
I know they are
and
different.
Like they did it with relievers like Brett Cecil, they did, but Brett Cecil was like the worst. Like he was like worse than like Eric Fetty was this year. And like
Dexter Fowler is worth 0.2 WAR in a short season. In 2020, his final year.
I remember him being
only 31 games. He was worth 0.2 WAR. And then the year before that, in 2019, he's worth 0.5 WAR. His second year of his contract, he's worth negative WAR.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of then.
Yeah, I mean, but like honestly, like,
but that was also the last year of his deal, and they were like,
but Nolan Arenado has 2 years left in his deal. Like, it's not like you're eating 5 years of contract. You're not. And they do get $5 million from the Rockies this next year, so that's down to 22, and then the next year's 15. So it's not crazy money. It's $39 million on the hook for. If they can find a team to take on 15 million of it, and they're on the hook for like 22 million of it, or whatever that number is, like, It's not that crazy to eat that money. And then
No,
also,
I don't like the DFA idea. I think them eating money is fine. Like
well,
that's okay, but like I don't think you cut him and get cash for him like you did with Eric Fetty. I think he's worth more than that. Like
I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, I
because
think
Eric Fetty was just horrible. Like I just I don't like what's the precedent for something like that happen? The last Hall of Fame type player I remember getting DFA was like Albert Pujols on the Angels.
I mean,
But
Joey
that's
Votto
because
was, I think
was he?
Miggy, they
Well,
were
no,
going
that's
to,
because he signed a minor league deal with Toronto, like
no,
on a big deal like this.
I'm pretty sure the Reds DFA'd him going into that. Maybe not though.
No, he was just on an expiring deal. Like Albert Pujols getting DFA'd from the Angels was so they could make room for Shohei Ohtani, and he was also
Well, that
just
wasn't the
horrible.
only reason why though. It was
Well,
that he was horrible and that he wasn't part of their future anymore. And you like, you've already paid him the money. You don't like
right.
keeping him, not keeping him doesn't mean
I
anything.
don't think he's a negative asset at this point.
Well, he is if he's blocking young players, and you have to get information on those guys. And you have to know what they are. Like next year, even without Nolan Gorman in the picture, where does JJ Weatherholt play? Because you have Brendan Donovan, you have Mason Wynn, you have Yvonne Herrera at catcher, you've got Jordan Walker and Alec Burleson in the corners, or Lars Nootbaar. Like you don't have a spot for JJ
I
Weatherholt
think
right
you could
now.
trade like a Burleson or a Nootbaar and be creative that way to get something for
That's
real,
true.
right?
That's
Like,
true. But are you going to do that because you don't want to cut Nolan Arenado, who's not doing anything for you? Like if it comes to we free up a roster spot, they're not, like it would be
but you
foolish to
could get
just trade.
something back, right? Like
True.
you could trade Lars Nootbaar and get some like pitching upside.
I think I'm not saying you shouldn't also do that, but I'm saying Nolan, like, and also again, I agree with you that I think someone would trade for him. I do think that would happen, and but the Cardinals have to eat a lot of the money. But like whatever they don't have to eat is money saved that they were going to have to pay anyways, and so I think they would enjoy that.
Right.
They're also going to.
I'm fine with that.
So I think let's not even talk about the DFA thing. Okay, it's fair, and I don't think it'll have to come to that. But then you also like I apologize if you're listening to the trade deadline stream the other day. I misquoted this because my fan graphs was being weird and was not updating. It was showing the Nationals payroll and not the Cardinals payroll when I was trying to do that little quiz with you guys. The Cardinals payroll this year is down to 144 million. It was at 183 million the year prior. Okay, so they've already cut by $40 million. They have this reporting's already come out. So this is not me. This is not us arguing for what they should do. This is what they're planning on doing. They wanted to trade Sonny Gray and they wanted to trade Nolan Arenado, and they wanted to trade those guys to get rid of the contracts. It wasn't to get prospects back. It wasn't like when the Mets traded Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, and they ate a ton of the money on those deals so that they can get prospects back in return, like good ones. It's, hey, how much money can we move out? And next year, Sonny Gray's due $35 million. So if they have to eat like 10 million of that and they move up 25 million and then they move out like 15 million of Notto's deal next year, then their payroll's under $100 million. For the, I don't know when that, but like actually that happened in the early 2000s, but that's because, and they were still near the top in payroll, but it's because baseball's contracts have gone through the roof. But they are shedding salary. Like that, they want to do that, and so they will be motivated to move Nolan one way or the other to shed that salary. Sonny Gray, they for sure won't have an issue finding a suitor for. They will not have to DFA Sonny Gray. They'll have to eat some money on it, but they will move that contract. And what it does is that frees up playing time for the young guys. It does, and they've talked about this. I do not believe the Cardinals are going to spend this offseason. Like I do not expect that. Like I've been told, don't expect that. But I don't think it means they won't go making moves. I don't expect it to be super active, but I more so expect it to be active in the sense that Bloom is left with a mess that Mo didn't clean up, and that's that he's got to pick and choose who the guys are. And so hopefully Lars Nootbaar can build up his trade value over the next few weeks or next few months, and maybe he's a guy they move on from. Or maybe it's Burleson, maybe it's Donovan. Maybe it's Win. I'm guessing it's not Win. I'd be very shocked at that. Maybe it's Gorman, but that's probably what Bloom's going to be doing this offseason is trading away some of his young guys, getting prospects in return or turning them into young pitching, whatever he can do. And then 2026 is a rebuild year. Like they're not like I agree. The Cardinals shouldn't be in this position, but they have put themselves in this position. Like, and we were some of the people that overlooked it. But you go back to the 2023 deadline. That was probably the best time to tear it down. They could have traded Nolan for real stuff. They could have traded Goldie for real stuff. They could have not gone in on some of these other things like the Lynn and Gray and all that stuff. They could have kept their second round pick that year. They maybe could have traded Wilson Contreras at the deadline for real stuff or kept him. Like, I'm fine with that. Like, they could have started this rebuild and then they didn't. And they came back in 2024 and it was fine, but they didn't miss the playoffs. And then they did the reset year in 2025, which also they tried to do all this offseason. They wanted to trade Wilson Contreras, Sonny Gray, and Nolan Arenado, but all three of them couldn't be moved because Sonny Gray and Wilson said we're staying. And Nolan was like, And so they got stuck. And so they rebranded as, oh, it's a year of opportunity, but also we're kind of winning. And so we're going to see the fans come back. But they're not coming back. Like Nolan, even when he was playing well and the team was in contention, no one came. So, like, do you think people are coming in 2026 because Nolan Arenado's on the roster? Like, no, they're not. Like, they're down to 18th in attendance, and they were top 5 every single year for the last 24 years. Like, it doesn't matter. Nolan Arenado's on the roster. The fans aren't coming.
I don't know how you get the fans to come back if you just have this nonsense rebuild year or whatever. If you don't spend this offseason, you're not going to get any. I don't know if they're aware of that. Are they the only ones that can't see that? That's crazy to me.
Yeah, let's do an ad real quick and let's talk about it, because I think honestly, like, I'm working on something right now of like storylines for the second half, and the number one storyline, you can't convince me otherwise, is what is fan engagement going to look like long term, because they could kill the franchise if they aren't careful. I don't think it will, but if they're not careful, and again, they can make choices to not do that, but oh boy, they're in trouble. So 314 Sports Cards Collectibles, after we're being Debbie Downer soon, we're going to continue to be, is a presenting sponsor of the Deal on the Cards podcast. They're located at 9640 All Boulevard in Olivet, open 10 to 5 Monday through Friday, 10 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. They buy, sell, and trade all sports cards and Pokemon cards. You get sweet cards like that Mason Win card from Team USA. They have the newest selections of packs, boxes, and single cards of local players and stars from around the league. Make sure you go check them out. They're awesome to work with. We know many of you shop there already and really enjoy them. If you've been to 314 and you're in the chat right now, drop some messages about it. They're awesome. We really enjoy them. And then we also want to tell you about our presenting, or one of our other sponsors, and that's Underdog Sports. The Deal on the Cards podcast is proud to be partnered with Underdog Sports, our favorite place to play fantasy games. You're now eligible to play in Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, and 37 other U.S. states. You got to check out Pick'em. It's so easy to play. You just pick 2 to 8 stats of your favorite players and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. You can win 20 times your money by going 5 for 5. If that sounds like fun, sign up with our promo code CARDS to claim your first free pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We can't wait to see your entries. As always, again, we really appreciate the support. So like and subscribe, helps channel a ton. We always bring Cardinals content over here. We got Birds on the Farm with Kareem and Sandy, which does some looks into the farm system, and that's really fun. We have that trade deadline live stream. Probably get back to having some guests on and doing some interviews here soon too. We've just had a lot of stuff to talk about recently. So a couple of things in the chat that I want to highlight because I think they kind of set up this conversation. Skywalker said our finances really that dire. Jen said the 2020 season isn't happening, and I think she's referring to a lockout here. Let's see what JJ is in 26. Bring up a young outfielder, try to contend in 2028. And then she said, we'll come back when we win again, regardless of who is causing them to win. Here's the thing. The Cardinals were 9 games above 500 this year, and no one came. So I don't know if I'm fully convinced that I don't think just winning's enough.
I think if the Cardinals had made the playoffs this year, which will not happen, obviously, but if they actually were real and got into the playoffs, I think people would have come. The issue is that, like, the messaging from the front office was, oh, hey, we're not really prioritizing winning this year. And it didn't get to, like, a good enough point where, like, they were doing it. I think everyone knows, like, I don't know.
So
we were like,
the Cardinals never said they weren't trying to win. We looked at the situation and said, you're not trying to win. So, like, even when they were winning,
they said that they're prioritizing the future this year in the press conference. They were not explicitly like, oh yeah, we're not going to try to win, but they were also like,
In the
Or not?
press conference they did, but then their entire offseason went against it. Like, they couldn't make those moves, and so then they said, "Okay, let's see if we can win."
Well, they
Like, if
could
they
have
had
been able
traded
to,
Nolan
but
and Gray and Wilson, I don't think that's the same messaging. I think they're, like, saying, "We're a young and upcoming team, we're to see what happens." Instead, it was, "We're trying to balance all these things at once," which, again, I do think you're right, messaging matters, and so if it's Bloom's team that's 9 games above 500, people probably will be a little more interested.
yeah.
But a little more interested. They went down to 18th in
Well, look
attendance
at the
this year.
Savannah Bananas. Look how many fans they got in the stadium. Like, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
but
Like,
that's different. It's a different thing. It's entertainment. It's like a really
but
fun event
who
you can go
want to?
to.
Do you think non-baseball fans even know who the Savannah
Oh,
Bananas
yeah,
are?
dude, did you see, like, Death Valley, which is, like, 80, 90,000 people, was sold out 2 nights in a row in Auburn or in Clemson. Like, they sell out everywhere they go. So they're a different thing. Like,
But like,
and I
it's not like the baseball fans here just died. They're still here. Like, that's who was there at the
well,
game.
yes and no. I think there's people who go to those games that don't typically go to, like, my mother-in-law went to that game, and we live pretty far from St. Louis, and, like, she went out of her way to go to it, and she likes baseball, but she's not, like, a avid baseball fan, but, like, she was dying to go see that. Like, people die to go see the Savannah Bananas right now because it's this fun entertainment style thing, and it attracts the young audience. I hope it grows baseball again, it helps the game out. But I do think there's so many issues coming at them at once right now. I do think, to Nelia's point, like, do you think possibly the lack of attendance, where while we were seriously contending earlier as a generational issue, or the younger generations engage with baseball in the city? I don't know. Like, I don't know how much the 10 and 12 and 13-year-old in St. Louis, or that have parents that are Cardinal fans, care that much about the Cardinals anymore. I'm not saying they don't care, but, like, are they like, this is, I bleed or red? I don't know. Baseball attendance around the world, around the game, is generally down. And, like, San Diego is probably the best example of a city, which also, they're San Diego in California. Like, I was at Petco Park this year. Incredible atmosphere. It was a day game, Padres Cubs. It was so fun. Like, I haven't seen Busch like that in a long time. And they do other stuff entertainment wise that I'm kind of like, I care more about the game, but, like, I see how the entertainment factors make people have a fun time at the ballpark. Like, but they went through some lean years, but then they got Tatis and they got Machado, and they started building towards something, and now they're like an incredible baseball town. And the
It's
Cardinals have
almost
to
like
build toward
if
that.
you put money into the team, people will show up.
Yes,
It's
but
crazy, right? Like,
I'm
that's
well, it's not all money, because a lot of their
well, yeah.
issues are systemic, and so you could do both at once. It's just clearly the Cardinals have chosen, we're not doing both at once. We're going to invest in the player development farm system, which, honestly, if they have to invest in one, it needs to be that, because that is what deteriorated everything. But then they have to get back to spending. My question and my concern is that, are they going to do a few lean years here, and then when it's time to rebuild it, fans weren't there, and so they're not going to have the revenues they used to have, and so they're not going to spend, and so that might be, or not might be, it's probably part of the reason they are trying to cut payroll right now, is that they want to spend they want to spend less and less and less money right now, because the less and less they spend right now, the less losses they're taking, and then they can reinvest. I'm not defending it. I'm just explaining what's
They're not
probably
taking
happening there.
losses. Not even right now. There's no way.
They're, well,
They're not
they're
even. They're spending $40 million less than they did last year on
okay,
payroll.
but their attendance has dropped a ton, and their TV deal has dropped. Like, I'm not defending it. But, like, it is true their revenues have gone down significantly. Like that, it doesn't take much, like,
Chelsea
looking
went
in.
up tremendously in 2022, and what did they do with it? They
Dude,
promised
I'm
us
not
they were going to do
arguing.
something with it, and they didn't do anything with it. That's like they kept a lot from that, and
You're not wrong, but I can't, like, that's how they're operating. And also, there is a side of it too that we have to, like, be real about, is that St. Louis is, like, the 26th largest city or market in Major League Baseball. Now, that doesn't defend them, because they should punch above their weight class because of what KMOX has done for them and their ability to have this regional fan base that goes far beyond St. Louis. But, and again, this isn't defending them. I'm just saying, like, I don't think I don't like when people are just like, oh, like they don't lose any money. It's like, no, they have. Like, so let's not like the DeWitts tune people out when we
Well, they
put
lose
out these.
money, sure. They're not making as much as they did a few years ago, but I can't imagine that they're losing money, like that they're in the red. Like, there's
Yeah,
no
I
way
doubt
that.
they're in the red, but like also if you're running a business and you used to be, I'm just throwing out random numbers. You used to be plus 100 million a year, now you're plus 5 million, plus 20 million. Like that's a huge difference. It really is. And so they're trying to figure out how to navigate the landscape. And so they are this regional fan base, but I don't know how much a kid in Arkansas cares about the Cardinals anymore. Like I don't know. Like I'm not saying like there might be a kid in Arkansas listening to this right now. I was like, I
They're
love the Cardinals.
also not the ones that are coming to the games,
True, but I'm just
right?
saying
Like,
like,
that's not
well,
who's
that's not
coming
also
on a regular basis.
yes and no, but like part of the reason the Cardinals drew so much is because people would like I would go multiple times a year and travel out of my way to go watch the Cardinals. Again, I only went to a few games because of that, but like and then people in the St. Louis area come more often, and also TV revenue does matter. Like the Cardinals had consistently some of the highest viewership in all of baseball for so long too, which is why they could get a big TV deal for St. Louis, even though LA and New York should always trounce them, like which they still did. They would also get a pretty hefty TV deal from it. And that deal got cut too because of the losses that regional sports networks have had and low attendance, which I need to pull up the numbers then, I guess, because I mean, I know you agree with it, but like it is a significant drop. I'm just saying I'm not defending it. I'm just saying this is the reality they're entering in, and they got to figure out how to navigate it. This year they dropped to 19th in attendance now. They're averaging 28, basically 28,500 fans. Last year, let's see, they were averaging last year they're averaging 35. So it's already dropped, and that was 7th in baseball. So it's already dropped 7,000 fans per game. Let's go back to 2022 or 2023. Even in the terrible year, they're averaging 40,000 fans. They were third or fourth in all of baseball. 2022, they're
I
second in
think a
all of
lot of
baseball,
that was
40,000
committed,
fans.
though, right? Like, a
But
lot of that was season ticket holders who, after 2022, were like, wow, what a great season. They're going to be even better next year because they only lost Pujols and then they signed Contreras, who's probably going to be better. And it's the same team coming back. Goldie just won an MVP. Arenado just finished third. There's some young guys coming up that are exciting. Jordan Walker's exciting. Like, those are people who committed at the start of the season to getting season tickets. And once that team was terrible, they decided to cancel them. Like, that's just how these things happen, right? Like, we're only 2 years away from that, but like in 2023, I can't imagine that a lot of season ticket holders canceled before the start of the season, right? That
yeah,
doesn't seem
true.
like that would have
But
happened.
like, so even if it's just announced attendance, but the ticket was sold, so they at least got the money
Yeah,
from that ticket being
so
sold.
they
But then
did, but like,
they lost concessions then and merchandise, and then that's continuing to come down too because less and less people are coming. So it's not only are you selling 7,000 less tickets per game you were last year, but then for the no shows and for the people that don't buy the tickets, now you're not getting that $50. Which again, I'm not defending any of this. It's crazy that you make that much money. Like billionaires are billionaires, right? But like it is real, it's changing. And then also Andrew asked this question of do we know how much they made from the FanDuel sports deal? I don't remember what the full number is, but they have 20. They took a 25% pay cut from what their what their deal was originally with Bally Sports. So they saw 25% loss in their TV deal, which is a significant number when you're talking about a business. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying it's real. And then they're dropping like flies right now, attendance wise. And that's like part of the reason they believe they could punch above their weight class is because it was such a money machine for how the market was that they could reinvest. And so it is going to be up to the DeWitts to look into the mirror and say, hey, are we going to outspend our problems here? And are we going to actually take losses? And are we actually going to be aggressive in our spending? Because they are getting this $250 million grant from Missouri probably to help make some changes to their stadium. So like they're and the sports gambling thing in Missouri should help with revenues too. They're going to have other paths.
they spent several $1,000,000. That's what Katie was said, several $1,000,000. I don't know how many several it is, but it was at least $2,000,000, right? That's how much several is on their scoreboard this offseason. Could you
Oh,
imagine? Okay,
okay.
first of all, their new scoreboard is terrible and it doesn't work. And like half of the stuff on there is broken when you go to the game. So I don't know what they spent it on, but it just doesn't work. Anyway,
They're not doing that
like,
because they're not like they invest in a scoreboard not because they're trying to throw money around to be funny. Like they think
well,
that's
their
going to
other
help with fan
scoreboard was
experience.
fine. I have not talked to anyone who's like, wow, that new scoreboard is amazing. It's like no one cares.
I think you underrate that, because if you look at people who go around the game and cover this team and them specifically, again, I think they're overselling how much the entertainment thing is a thing at times. But it's real, where you go to Colorado and the team is so bad, but people go there because it's fun to go to the Coors Field. Like, they've created a fan experience.
Different, right? Like, where it's like it's up in the mountains, and like it's a different baseball experience. Like, I feel like they have that going for them.
Yes, but St. Louis has to figure out what is that for them, because in today's world, it can't just be, when you're talking about the casual fan, because you and I are not the casual fan. We're the people that care deeply about the sport of baseball. And so for us, the on the field product far outweighs everything else. Most people go to a baseball game because they're just trying to have fun. They don't really care all that much about the team, or they do to an extent, but like, they don't listen to this podcast. They don't read the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. They look at the scorecard every once in a while, and they kind of know what's going on. And like, it's like you talked about, like someone from on Wednesday when you were out for the live stream, that someone even knew Ryan Helsley is potentially going to be traded. And it's like, people in this chat are like, we've known that for like 12 months. But like, that's because we're the plugged in people. But the typical person is going to the game.
Like, who's going to know that they changed their scoreboard? Like, no one's going to be like, wow, they changed their scoreboard, and tell their friends that they should go to the game. Like, that's
no, but when people start going to the games and having fun, then you tell your friends to come to the games with you. So like, it's the scoreboard's not going to be the only thing.
Though? Winning the game, or like having a fun thing? Because if you get blown out and the scoreboard looks nice, you're not going to have as much fun.
I agree mostly, but I'm telling you, for us, that's true. But there's people who go to sporting events, concerts, all these things, and it's like, yes, the product matters, but it's also the atmosphere and the fun. Like, again, like Colorado, or when you think about that, like, they've basically built this like area that's like a singles lounge where people can just go and get drinks and have fun and meet people, and like, it draws people.
Villages.
Kind of, but I'm telling, like, so here's a better comparison. You go to San Diego, which I was just at, like, they don't have ballpark village. They have like a whole area where it's just like, it's enmeshed into the stadium and outside the stadium all around, where it's just like, it's the place to be downtown and hang out. Now, again, it's San Diego, California. Like, it's a different draw. But my point is, the Cardinals have to figure out what is their draw that's going to bring people to the games. Yes, on the field matters, but like, I'm not going to get mad at them for spending money on a scoreboard and revamping the stadium, because you have to do those things. Everyone does it. And like, $2 million for a 20-year investment is not the same as, oh, you could have spent $2 million on their Phil Maton. Though that's different.
Well, you
like,
could have. And here's the thing.
Okay. That would not have brought fans this year. That would not have. You signed 2 Phil Matons. You're telling me
you signed another Phil Maton, and then you traded Eric Petty. This team's in the playoff race. 100% guaranteed.
I'm telling you, even if they were right now, there's not people here, because the average person has no idea who Eric Fetty is. And the average person did not know they signed Phil Maton. So signing 2 Phil Matons and trading Eric Fetty was not
the average person would know that they're like 2 games out of the wild card instead of like 8.
They were, and no one was coming. They were 9 games above 500, and no one was coming to the games.
But the attendance was up during that time. It's because all the season ticket holders canceled before the season.
I understand that, but I'm telling you, there were 9 games above 500, and the attendance didn't go up. Like, it maybe has continued to go down, but it did not. Like, I remember we were talking about it. Sandy was doing his reels about it. People are posting stories about it. Come to the ballpark. They didn't.
I feel like there were more people there, like, in like June than. Because I was there a couple of times, and yeah, it was the Dodgers, but like, there were other games that I was at that I feel like there were more people there than there were like last September.
I get, but like, it wasn't a significant difference. It really wasn't. And I think that's part of the reason you're seeing this deadline. They're cutting money because it's just not working. Like, they thought that's part of the reason to thread the needle. Again, I'm not defending it, but they're trying to thread the needle of, oh, we're going to be competitive and play the young guys, because they hoped people would come, and they didn't. And I think it's a reflection of systemic issues of people are sick of Mo. People don't have as much fun with baseball anymore. All kinds of, like, there's just so much going on with it. And also, like, there was bad weather this year, right? Like, there was rainouts and storms. There's 100+ degree weather and stuff. But like, people didn't care enough to see the team play because it wasn't good enough in people's eyes. Even if they're 9 games over 500, it didn't matter. And like, honestly, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, if they had another Phil Maton, didn't have Eric Fetty, I don't think this is a great team. I think it might be in the playoff race.
Well, I don't think it is either, but I think, like, I mean, prior to all of this post second half nonsense, I think they would have held a playoff spot going into the All-Star break. I think that's a guarantee. And like,
Well, okay, but they
would
were
they
like
have
2
played
games
this
out of
badly
it.
afterwards with all the pressure? I don't know, but like, I think investing in this team, like this team is not that far off. You go into next season, you have a ton of money. If you can move like 20-30% of Arenado's contract, and then Michaelis isn't here and Fetty isn't here, and you call up JJ and maybe he's good, and Walker maybe is like, I don't know, like there's a way where this team can contend next year just by investing the same amount.
I mean, maybe, but I'm just telling, like, I don't think that's what's going to happen. And and I'm not blaming fans for this, but the fans have spoken that it's that bigger changes need to happen than just reinvesting $30 million differently. And people complain about payroll all they want, but like the Cardinals are spending 190 million, which is pretty high, in missing the playoffs. Like, it matters how you spend your money. Young pitching, you have to have that in today's game. And the Cardinals are like the thinnest organization of all organizations in young pitching right now. I'm not even pessimistic about the team long term. What I'm pessimistic about, or I'm sounding the alarm on, is that it took them far too long to realize the issues. They're finally starting to do things toward it, but it might be too little too late. And they might have shot themselves in the foot so much thinking that it would just fix itself, that by the time they finally do the right things, I don't know if they're going to get back to the places they want to get to financially, unless they get uncomfortable and start spending in ways that they haven't before. And by spending in ways that haven't before, I don't even mean getting to $230 million payroll. I'm talking about they get up to 180, 190, knowing that they're taking losses, or knowing that their revenues are shot because of that. But I don't know if they're going to be willing to do something like that anymore. I think winning does cure it eventually, but I think it's going to be winning with new leadership. I think it's going to be, you have to have stars. Like, even in the late 2010s, like, people, like, you could see the interest waning a little bit when they had no stars, with Matt Carpenter as the face of the team and Agent Yachty. Then they go get Pujols. They go get Paul Goldschmidt, and it kind of helped. Then they got Nato, and it really helped. Then they had Pujols come back too, and then it was like the pinnacle of, since they were in real contention in 2013, 2011, and then and I think the fans have spoken, and hopefully they're listening. But I think you're going to have some stars here. I don't think it's enough just to be a good team, because they were, by all accounts, technically a good team this year, and people didn't care. Like, you just didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking, like, every time I look at it, it's like this season was about, we want to see what we have in the young guys. And if the young guys are good, then we go out next year and we invest in the team and we do that. And if the young guys are bad, then this takes a lot longer. And I don't think the young guys, I think the young guys have been really good. Like, you look top to bottom in this lineup. I'll look at last night's lineup: Donovan, Herrera, Burleson, and Contreras. Like, I talk about this all the time. They're all hitting really well, right? Like, 766 OPS from Donovan. Like, he's definitely slowed down a little bit, but like, he's a great supplemental piece. He was just an all-star. Herrera, 837. He's slowing down a little bit too. And Burleson, 802. Has been really consistent after the All-Star break as well. Like, last year, he completely fell off in the second half, and this year it seems to be a lot better. And Contreras, 789. He's not one of the young guys, but still. Mason Wynn, 714. Nolan Gorman, 717, after being terrible for like the first 2 months of the year. Those are guys I think you can build around. Jordan Walker has really improved in the second half. And then you have Scott, who's a defensive guy, and then Pajes, I guess, or Pozo, catching, whatever. But you also have Lars Nootbaar. So I just feel like lineup-wise, they're like a one piece away, I think, from being like, and yeah, that one piece might be like a top 20 hitter in the league, but like, still, I think that becomes a really solid group of guys. And then your pitching, like, you were already spending so much on pitching, but you have Liberatore and Palante who are cost controlled, and McGreevy. If you just go out and get another Sonny Gray type guy, I feel like this is a good team.
I don't think so. Because it takes one injury to that lineup. It takes one injury to that rotation, and you're shot. You're back in the same spot.
Were without Ivan Herrera through the best stretch of the season this year.
And the offense was horrible. Like, it wasn't even – I understand they're winning games, but bad teams or average teams can win baseball games for sustained stretches. We saw that in 2023 at times. We saw that in 2024 at times. And we've seen that in 2025 at times. They do not have enough young pitching to overcome this. Like, you're talking about, okay, so you're saying add one more Sonny Gray to this rotation, which also I think most people in the world right now are saying Sonny Gray's not an ace. So you're saying add so two number 2 starters, Matthew Liberatore, who's probably a number 4 starter.
Or like not another Sonny Gray, but like with what Sonny Gray's being paid, I feel like you could definitely.
You can't get no, because they got Sonny Gray on an average of 25 million a year. Obviously, he makes 35 next year, but they did 10, 25, 35 for a 3-year deal. You can't get an elite starter without paying 5 to 6, 7 years and paying $35 million per year. Do you see what Garrett Crochet got? And he signed early. He'd even hit free agency. Like, they're not paying that. And then they don't have enough to trade for it right now, because if they traded for a number 1, they would have no farm system and their team is already thin. You look at the lineup, okay, I agree in some ways, but Brendan Donovan's 2 years away from free agency. He's not young anymore. He's just not old. Ivan Herrera, yes. Alec Burleson is 3 years away from free agency and is almost 27. Wilson Contreras is not young at all. He's old. Mason Wynn is good, but he should not be in middle of the order or top of the lineup. Nolan Gorman is 3 years away from free agency. He's 25. And again, he's league average this year. So I don't know if we should be saying you could build around him. Jordan Walker's been better lately, so we'll see what happens. But on the year, he's still 30% below league average. Victor Scott is 15% below league average. So so you have a elite defensive center fielder who hits ninth. Sure. Mason Wynn, you've got a 7, 8, 9 hitter, maybe 6 hitter. Cool. Ivan Herrera, that's 1 middle of the order bat. Brendan Donovan's, I think, a leadoff guy. You're missing a 3-hole hitter, a 4-hole hitter, and a 5-hole hitter, in my opinion. Unless Wilson Contreras is one of those guys, but like, he will be 34 years old next year. Is he going to continue to be this? Because until recently, he wasn't good this year. He was like league average, and then he caught fire. Alec Burleson, okay, maybe. Like, sure, you could have one more bat to this lineup and be, I think, good. But then you look at the pitching, and it's Sonny Gray will be 36 next year. I don't think he's better. I think he's probably worse. Miles Michaelis off the team. That's good. Matthew Liberatore, hopefully he's a little bit better, but it's probably a 3 starter, maybe a 4. McGreevy is a 5. Palante's a 5. Sonny Gray's probably a 3 next year. And then you look at the bullpen. I actually feel probably best about that, but every year it changes. Like, you never know if these guys will actually be good or not. So I think it's more of a long-term thing than people are giving it credit for. And I guess sure, you're getting JJ Weatherhold next year. I think it's gonna be awesome, but like, you can't bank on that. So I'm not saying they shouldn't invest, but I'm also saying, like, I don't know if, like, and also, okay, they have a 17 coming off the books this year with Michaelis. Okay. So that brings their payroll down to like 130. And then let's say you move Nato's contract, you move 10 or 20 of that brings it down to 110. You go get Kyle Tucker, that's 40 million. So it brings you up to 150, which is already more than you're spending this year. That's one of the players. And then you go get that ace, which is another 35. Then you're back to spending.
That's to be like really good, right?
But like, okay, so is being just good enough people gonna care next year?
If this team gets to the postseason, I think revenues will go up.
Yes, but like
by a considerable amount.
I don't know by considerable, but
because right now they're like plugging bobbleheads and stuff like that, and it's like cool, but you don't have anybody on the team that I want a bobblehead of, right? Like,
yeah, true, but to get that guy, I don't know if next year's the guy to go get that guy. I'm not saying they shouldn't necessarily, but like, are you going to trade your farm system to go do it? I don't think that sounds wise. And then they're not doing Kyle Tucker. Like, they're not doing it. And so where do you get that then? I don't think there's a path toward it next year. And so that's where I'm becoming more and more open and feel like it's probably the right thing to do is you don't need to full tear this down. This is not Houston Astros, Chicago Cubs, the early 2010s. Like, you don't need to tear it all to the studs, but also you kind of have to be open to doing anything because you got to accumulate talent and your future is probably 2028, 2029, 2030, not 2026. And if they do this, because this is what they've done the last 5 years, is they've tried to kick the can down the road and make it work next year. And ever since 2022, it's been downhill. So I feel like I'm so pessimistic today, but I'm not even trying to be. I'm just trying to be realist about it. I'm like, I feel like it's where they're headed. clearly we've spoken with.
I know that's where
Anthony
they're
some money
headed,
this
but I
year.
don't think it's because the team is bad. I think it's because the ownership is bad. I think that's what I'm trying to hit at. It's like if ownership doesn't want to invest, there's nothing we can do. Like that is what like if ownership is like, Chaim, we're not going to give you anything to work with, and Chaim has to be like, okay, then I'm going to start trading these guys because what else is he supposed to do? Right? Like there's nothing he can do. But I think if you let him spend creatively, like I feel like you could find guys that give you, like, he can find the Matthew Boyds. And how much are the Cubs paying Matthew Boyd? Like nothing. Right? It doesn't matter.
Okay, so
Like,
so what you're telling me is you think, I'm legitimately asking, you think if next year the Cardinals went out and got a Matthew Boyd, so basically a no name who ends up pitching like an ace, and they do the same with a bat where it's like they got Lamont Wade Jr. and he went off and had an awesome first half, that fans are coming to the stands because Matthew Boyd and Lamont Wade Jr., these shrewd signings, are making fans come to play baseball because they're winning?
yeah.
They didn't do that this year.
Well, they didn't like, okay. I
They
mean,
were
they
9
didn't
games
sign
above
anyone. They
500.
didn't even sign anyone. They
The
signed Phil
typical person
Maton, who was
doesn't
a
really
great
know
signing.
that, though.
Well, they look at the
I don't know if that brings fans back. And so
I
I'm
think
saying,
the
like,
narrative surrounding this team was like, yeah, they're getting lucky.
yeah,
Which they
but
were. But they were getting
wouldn't we
lucky the
say that
correct way.
wouldn't we say that if the next Matthew Boyd, Lamont Wade Jr. were leading the Cardinals right now? I don't think we'd be like, oh, they've got the next Bryce Harper and Terrace Skubal. We'd be like, yeah, they're getting a career year out of these guys right now, but it's probably not going to last. So that's where I'm just like, I don't. And then also, even if, which I thought you said, like you said, this is best case. Like if they did best case scenario where they added a huge bat and a huge arm this offseason through free agency, their payroll would go up to 180, 190, which
It
is
was
where they were
there.
before.
It was
But
just there.
I understand it was just there. But here's the point: is then they are a 180, 190 payroll team that lacks any depth. And that one injury happens to that rotation, one injury happens to that lineup, and they are not a contender anymore.
What happens to the Dodgers if Ohtani gets hurt?
They're still they are not as good as they were, but they are. You cannot convince me that without the Ohtani, the Dodgers are not good enough. They can win. And also, I'm not just talking about if you lose Kyle Tucker. I'm saying, like, if they sign Kyle Tucker and they lost Ivan Herrera for the whole year or Brendan Dime for the whole year, this team is in a pretty tricky spot then. Or especially again, I think it's, and I don't necessarily, I mostly agree with you on the lineup. It's the pitching. They got so lucky this year with not having injuries. And Sandy's made this point of, oh, well, like that's because of the arms they target. Exactly. They have bad arms. If you went out and started going to get good arms, those high velo, high spin, incredible arms, those arms get hurt. And so that's why the Dodgers have like 20 million of them, and the Rays have like 20 million of them. And these teams that are good, that continue to be good, have like 20 million arms. So when one goes down, they plug in another. The Cardinals don't have a single arm to plug in right now. Like now that Michael McGreevy's in there, Quinn Matthews just had one good start. Like he is not ready. And Liam Doyle, we hope, is ready at some point next year, but we can't bank on that. It sucks. Like they did this to themselves. I'm not.
I know that. I just like this team would. I feel like this team would be fine if they would just go out of their comfort zone and spend a little bit more, and not even spend a little bit more. Spend what they were spending like 2 years ago. Like
they would be okay, but is okay what Cardinal fans want? I don't think it is. I think people spoke that this year with their money. Like they're sick of this. They're sick of it's just fine. They play above what they should. Everyone doubts them. And like it's not even the Milwaukee Brewers. The Milwaukee Brewers right now have Jacob Mizorowski, Jackson Churio, and they have Jesus Mate on the way. And they've got what's his face, this other guy I always forget in their farm system right now. Like, and they don't spend any, but it took them a long time. Like it doesn't happen overnight to become a team that can operate on a low payroll. It doesn't happen in one day. You can kind of get around.
Fans would like their team to spend more money.
For sure, but they are capped somewhat by Milwaukee and also by their ownership. If the Cardinals want to get back to where they were, if again, I agree with you. If the DeWitts every single year were just going to spend out the wazoo, they could accelerate this, but they're not going to.
I'm not asking them to spend like that. I'm just asking them to like spend what they were spending 2 years ago, which is not worth as much as it is now. Like teams are the average payroll of major league teams is increasing every single year.
I get that, but I'm saying without the young player depth, even spending like that will just get them to be good enough. It won't be enough to be like a consistent contender that every single year you can push for the World Series. If they want to get back to that, they have to fix the farm system. They have to fix the player development. They have to get to a space where they develop enough big league talent that they have some of their own stars. They have some of their own supplementary pieces. They have pitching depth, and then they can go trade for stars. They can go sign stars when they need to, and they go make those runs. But right now, signing those stars, then you've got no money to work with, and you've got no farm system. And yes, you can continue to develop that at the same time. I'm just telling you, 2026 is not going to be the year, and 2027 probably is not going to be the year unless you get lucky. So they could, in those lean years, spend and have stars and hopefully bring some. So yes, I agree. Like if they spend like that, they brought Kyle Tucker and Dylan Cease, then maybe fans come more, and it won't be the same, but it will help revenue some. But they're probably going to take more revenue losses for those signings. And so I think what they're probably going to do, and I'm not defending, I'm just saying what's probably they're going to do, is they're probably going to scale back, develop, draft and develop, make shrewd trades, see what happens. And then once that team starts building up, then they go invest in and go sign some guys and trade for some guys because they believe that the team around them is good enough that once they put the stars in, they're going to be so good that fans want to come to the ballpark again. But I agree with them that 2026 they won't be that. And as much as I agree with you that they should spend through it, they're not going to. Unless they shock me. I mean, do you think they're going to go sign Kyle Tucker this offseason?
No.
So like that's where I'm like, we have to be realistic about it. And then I think a plugged in person, even with how frustrated we are, we can't change the past. We can only hopefully the future gets better. My worry is the casual fan is not going to want to sit down and listen for multiple hours of a podcast about how Chaim Bloom is fixing this. And they're just tuned out and they're done. Or it's going to take a long time to bring them back. And it's just going to make this take longer. But also, yeah, I mean, this is the other thing too. Like, what players want to play here right now? Like, even if you shelled out the bag for Kyle Tucker, I highly doubt you're going to spend enough money, even if they want to do it, that you're going to outspend the Mets and the Dodgers and the Cubs on him. Or even if you did, I'd probably take, if I'm him, $20 million less and go to LA instead. Like, why would I want to play in St. Louis right now? It sucks. It's bad, but this is where they're at, and their actions speak louder than their words. They cut payroll.
Their words speak pretty loud too. They're just not being completely,
Yeah, true. But then their actions speak even louder, where they're like, "Oh, we're trying to contend all that," but then behind the scenes, they're like, "Yeah, we would love to trade all of Sonny Gray's contract if we can. That'd be great." Or if we could move off of Nolan Arenado, and they would have done this past offseason. And they couldn't, and so they tried to make the best of it, and it didn't work. And they go to this deadline, and they trade their players away for prospects that are way far away. And some people speculate it's because of the lockout. I don't really think it's because of the lockout. I think it's just because they're like, yeah, we need the highest upside guys, and those guys are.
Are they really gonna like? There's no way the 2028 season or 2027 season, whatever it is like. There's no way they just like cancel it. That's not possible, right?
I hope not, but we'll see.
That would be. There's no way with like the amount of exciting stuff happening around the league. I don't know.
It would be dumb, but also baseball has done a lot of dumb things in the past. So
yeah,
honestly, like Major League Baseball and how it's like killed the sport is like the Cardinals and how it's killed the Cardinals. It's just like you look at the outside looking, there's no way they do that, right? And it's like, oh, they did. And then they tell you that they knew what they were doing and it didn't work. And then they lucked into it. Somehow baseball seems to be growing again. It's like, oh, now we're going to potentially go into our worst lockout we've ever had in our entire history. Let's just see what happens. So, but honestly, silver lining, if somehow they get a salary cap, I think that could be like the ultimate lifeline to the Cardinals. Like the ultimate life.
They would never go over it.
Exactly. Because they're never going to spend what the other people do. So if you put a cap to spending, then it levels the playing field. I'm not defending them.
I think they would just like spend less because other teams are spending less.
Most salary cap sports, like if you look at the NFL and NBA, most teams spend around the salary cap. Like there's a minimum you have to spend. There's a little bit of there's a gap, but it's not like $100-200 million gap. It's like a $50-60 million gap, 70. And I would assume that's the only way the players would say yes, is that you make sure all teams are spending. But then there won't be a team that has a $400 million payroll. It'll be the highest you can get is 280 or something, or 270 or 250. And even then, even if there's a gap between 180 and 180, or 280 and 180, that's a smaller gap than 350 and 180. So again, the Cardinals should spend more than that anyways, but they're not going to. So I'm saying, like, it is a lifeline that if you had a payroll, it would, I think the teams that would help the most is not Pittsburgh. It would help them, but not the best. The teams that help the most are the Cardinals, the Cubs, the Mariners, the teams that should spend more to be in the range of the Dodgers, and no one's ever spent much as Dodgers and Mets, but like the teams that should spend at least somewhat more to get into that range. That would be what it does. And then it would help the mid-market teams a lot. We'll see, though. I mean, okay, I know we just did doom and gloom for like 40 minutes straight, but like I'm pessimistic about revenues and fan interests, but I do think they have the right new incoming voices to do this. Like I'm confident in a Chaim Bloom, in a Rob Serfolio, Randy Flores and what he's done, new hires they'll make, Larry Day, Matt Pierpont. Like there's already signs that this is working. It's just going to take time. It doesn't happen overnight. Doom in the Cardinals. What if we had called it that for this episode? Anything else you got?
No, I don't know. I'm such a dedicated Cardinals fan. I'm traveling 1,800 miles on Tuesday to go watch them play. So there you go.
It's true. And you're not lining the DeWitt pocketbook doing it.
That's the point. That's the exact reason.
Dedicated.
Yep. There you go. Use promo code Newt News on SeatGeek if you don't want to support it, and you support us instead by buying your tickets.
Show them you're interested, but you're not going to pay them.
Yep.
I like it.
There you go.
I like it. So it sucks. I'm really hopeful. And again, I would be the first person. I would be so happy to be proven wrong. I really would. I'd love for it, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. So I think it's going to take a little while, and it kind of sucks. But I also think the team could be fun next year. Like it could be fun to watch the young guys and see what happens. Growing Pains and JJ Weatherhold and maybe Liam Doyle at some point, some Quinn Matthews at some point. See if Jordan Walker becomes the guy. You know, Yvonne first full season in left field. Yoel Pozo, the catcher.
No, not that. First, can we? I guess they finally realized that Pajas is terrible. So there you go. That's a small one.
Do you? One last thing. Do you think if they hired Albert or Yachty as the manager or Skip, that it would help bring fans back?
Maybe. I think Skip wouldn't. I don't think that would happen.
Yeah, I don't think Skip.
I don't know. Some people just hate Ollie for no reason. I don't understand it. I really,
and I'm not saying as an Ollie hater. I'm just saying like,
yeah, I know. What I'm just saying is like, I like winning back the fans. I feel like some people just hate Ollie, and I feel like that's just really dumb because if you look at all the metrics of the like team metrics, he's done a great job keeping them as good as they have been over the last 2 years. Like, I don't know what you want him to do.
Yeah, I like Ollie a lot. I think he's a good manager. I think he'd actually be really helpful for this bridge that they're going through. But I wonder if he's collateral damage for what's happening, that it's just so bad that they have to clear as much house as possible. And they don't want to attach that to Bloom and attach that to what they're doing. And if Albert wants to be the manager, I think that would actually bring people to the ballpark. It'd be one of the stars.
Like you wouldn't get to see him. You would never see him other than when
you kind of would.
Out. And then what? Like, who cares?
You'd see him on the top of the dugout. I mean, I don't think it would bring. I don't think it'd make them top 10 in attendance again. But I think it'd start helping moving the ball. And also, you actually see managers quite a bit. You see them make the post game comments all the time. Like,
okay, but you can't go to the game and see that. Like, that's not selling tickets.
Yeah, but I think it draws
conferences
people
get
in.
posted on YouTube like an hour later anyway, so who cares?
I think it still draws people in. But also, Steve, I think, like, I'm not saying Cardinal fans don't travel and don't attend games well still. I just think it's like we cannot overlook the fact that you have gone literally 24 straight years of being top 10, almost every time top 5, and usually top 3 in attendance, to you're now 19th. That's like that's shocking. And you can't, like,
I think
do we
once
think it's better
Mo
next year when
leaves,
Mo's
it
gone?
might actually, yeah.
It maybe. But do you think it gets back to top 10?
Because even the casual fan hates Mo. That's what I've come to find out.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I feel like I know so many people that just hate Mo, and like,
You
I
know,
don't.
maybe that is the cure. Like, honestly, maybe people do the opposite, where next year they come to games to stick it to anti-Mo. Be like, see, if you got rid of Mo, we would have been here.
Maybe I don't know. I feel like that would be really funny.
But here's my worry: is that people are like, oh, we want Mo so gone, that they're, because people do talk to DeWitts, but I think you usually hear Mo's name more often. But it's like, it's even with how we are hypercritical of John Mozeliak, especially the last few years. So, like, I hope people are not listening to this being like, oh, you're defending him. Even to be fair, there are things that he can and cannot do that the DeWitts restrict him on because of how they may operate the team, that Bloom is going to have to operate with. And so I think, I don't know how much. I
He's
think
not
that
going to
we're
extend Miles Michaelis.
That's true.
He's not going to make these. Like, the thing is, I think Bloom, if he had Mo's restrictions, can do a lot better.
Yeah.
Or like, he wouldn't extend.
Oh, agreed. Yeah.
Michaelis.
It'll be better.
And he would have traded Eric Fetty, and he would have done all these things that we like. Like, if we can see it, then why can't Mo see it, right?
True, but then, like, are like Cardinal fans going to start to be like Brewers fans, where they're like, "What are you doing? Our front office is amazing, but you won't invest in this team." Which I do think that they would start to invest, but I think it's going to take. I'm not saying doom and gloom is the Cardinals are never going to get back to where they were. I just don't think it starts next year, and I think 2027 is the earliest the uptick starts. I think it's where you're looking at the back half of the 2020s to return to their glory, and think there's an outside chance that it takes even longer if revenues drop enough and the DeWitts don't outspend that. Also, to your point about Ollie, Space made this. Like, I highly recommend, if you haven't before, KMOX. You can check them on their YouTube channel. I think they have a podcast feed every Tuesday at noon. They have Ollie on there. It's Bernie Miklasz, Tom Ackerman, I'm forgetting the other guy that's on there right now. And they ask Ollie legit hard questions. Like, not like, they don't just are like, how are you doing? And like they ask him straight up about stuff that you and I are curious about. And I think a lot of fans, I've seen a lot of reactions from people saying, like, ever since I started watching those, they've really had a greater appreciation for Ollie. Chris Rome. So, anyways, I highly suggest that for anyone, whether you care for Ollie or not. But anyways, yeah. Offensive career as of late, not great.
We're gonna have to get creative with our own content, because I feel like people might start not caring. But we have some stuff coming down the pipeline.
We do. I hope people tune in. Like, we're going to be watching, because I do think, I mean, again, people who are listening right now are not the typical Cardinal fan.
Sure.
We're the people who are way more engaged. And even with all the doom and gloom, I'm excited to see what happens with this young core. I'm excited to see what Bloom gets his hands on. I think this is going to be so fun to see a different regime start to change things up and to bring back Cardinal baseball back to its glory, but in a different way. And it will be the Cardinals, like, that we used to know them as, but we used to know them as the team that was always ahead of the curve. And I think they're going to get back to that. I think it's going to take a little bit of time. Anyways, we really appreciate the support as always. Like and subscribe. We'll be here even when the Cardinals are not that great, because we do believe there's a day coming where it's going to be really fun. And so we're tuning in and we're excited about it. We hope you are as well. Like and subscribe helps channel a ton. We appreciate the support as always, and we'll see you guys next time on D on the Cards.
Thanks, Mo.
Thanks.